Alaska. Ask someone who lives here to tell you about their state, and you won't get a short answer. No state is as big or has such a variety of climate, cultures, and geography. It's a place where the future stands side by side with the past. One-fifth the size of the continental United States, Alaska stretches for nearly 3,000 miles east to west. In this excursion through the 49th state, you'll see magnificent Denali National Park and Mount McKinley in Alaska's heartland. Wind your way through the breathtaking Inside Passage of Southeast Alaska, a region we call the Panhandle. You'll travel north to the population centers of Anchorage and the Kenai Peninsula, and then west to remote islands of marine life in the Bering Sea. Finally, our tour will end at the northernmost edge of the North American continent, in the eternally frozen high Arctic. Alaska. It's more than just a place. It's an unforgettable experience. Few experiences anywhere can equal a trip to Denali National Park in central Alaska. In the warmer lowlands of the mountains, plant and animal life flourish in the short period of summer. Swollen by melting snow and ice, hundreds of rivers and streams carry the lifeblood of the park's creatures. Because Denali Park and Mount McKinley are easily accessible, visitors have a front row seat on wilderness and wildlife in one of the few natural environments left on Earth. Where else can casual sightseers watch dull sheep feeding on a carpet of flowering plants as they cling to steep talus slopes? Where else can visitors see grizzly bears wandering over their vast domain, pursuing their mysterious and solitary ways? And caribou herds as they migrate across open vistas on their way to calving grounds. Within this 3,000 square mile wilderness lies Mount McKinley, Alaska's premier natural wonder. Rising more than 4 miles in altitude, McKinley's great height and harsh elements have made it a legend among Indians of ancient times and mountain climbers of today. As you fly around the mountain on one of the many flight-seeing excursions available, you can't help but wonder at the powerful forces of nature that uplifted these jagged walls of stone to form valleys thousands of feet deep and miles wide. Within these valleys, massive river-like glaciers wind their way to the lowlands, moving sometimes only inches in a year. There are over 100,000 glaciers in Alaska, but few places have more than Southeast Alaska. People come from all over the world to this playground of the North to see its many glacier-sculpted fjords and marine life. Since most of Southeast is accessible only by boat and plane, it is largely a pristine wilderness of glacier-capped mountains and forested lowlands. The Southeast experience is a blend of yesterday and today. Residents carefully guard their rich history, and the evidence is everywhere. Sitka, a city of 8,000, is Alaska's oldest non-native settlement. Proud of its Russian heritage, Sitka was once the capital of Russian America. That heritage is recreated each summer by the New Archangel Russian dancers as they present a program of traditional Russian dances for Sitka's many visitors. Sitka's town site was settled by Russian fur traders more than 200 years ago, and at one time was the largest city on the west coast. Today, a Russian cannon still stands on the site of the original fortress at Castle Hill, overlooking Sitka Sound. The centerpiece of the town is St. Michael's Cathedral, built by the Russians in 1848. Though it burned in 1966, the townspeople saved nearly all its priceless icons and paintings and rebuilt the structure in exact detail from original drawings. The moderate climate of Southeast Alaska provides residents like these on Sitka's beaches with an occasional chance to catch a wave and a little sun. Ketchikan, Alaska's southernmost city, was settled by gold miners around the turn of the century on the site of the now famous Creek Street. Some of the old frame structures are much the way they were during the heyday of the gold rush, except that they are shops today, not the bawdy houses of the early days. Built along a steep hillside and paralleling a narrow channel of water, Ketchikan can be described as a city 2 blocks wide and 5 miles long. The area around Ketchikan was the heartland of Tlingit and Haida Indian cultures. The evidence of their rich heritage can be found in the many reconstructed totems that make up Totem Bite Park, the largest collection of totems in Alaska. Since the Tlingits and Haidas had no written language, each totem tells the story of some aspect of their life and times. But even with the passage of time, some stories remain the same. The economic hub of Southeast Alaska is Juneau, located at the base of towering mountains. As the state's third largest city and the capital of Alaska, Juneau is a busy community with government and tourism its primary industries. Juneau is a jumping-off point for many excursions through the Inland Passage, and a popular cruise ship destination as well. Just 13 miles from downtown Juneau is one of Southeast Alaska's major tourist attractions, Mendenhall Glacier. Because it's only a short walk to the glacier from the parking lot, the Mendenhall has been called Alaska's drive-up glacier. Those who want an even closer look can take a spectacular helicopter ride onto this 12-mile-long river of ice. The more adventuresome traveler can join a guided rafting party for a slightly wet ride on the icy water flowing from Mendenhall Glacier. The northernmost stop on the Inside Passage is historic Skagway, a city that loves to relive its famous past as a gold rush town of the 1890s. No Alaskan city has retained as much of its original look and charm as Skagway. The old storefronts and wooden sidewalks, though restored, are still here. Skagway's history and that of its most infamous former resident, Soapy Smith and his outlaw gang, are recalled throughout the summer in melodrama.
Is that bald spot growing, sir? Use my soap and the patriarchal locks once more will adorn your brow. Is your hair turning gray? Use my soap until the silver threads will return the pristine glory of youth. Does your conscience keep you tossing and sleepless in the silent watches of the night? Use my soap and wash your sins away.
A more recent development in Alaska's history are the population centers of the South Central area. Anchorage, Alaska's largest city with a population of nearly 250,000, is the service and financial center of the state. Built at the base of the Chugach Mountains, the city's backyard is America's second largest national forest. Anchorage has become a cosmopolitan city in the wake of a gigantic oil boom. From a humble beginning as a railroad town only 70 years ago, the city weathered the nation's most devastating earthquake in 1964 to become an all-America city. 45 miles north of Anchorage is the Matanuska Valley, the state's main agricultural area and a major producer of vegetables and dairy products. The most visited area in Alaska for locals and visitors alike is Portage Valley, 60 miles south of Anchorage. Here, a receding glacier has left a scenic valley in the Chugach National Forest and a place where glacial ice can be seen up close. Rapidly receding Byron Glacier is where the mythical Alaskan iceworm lives. Treks onto the glacier are led by Forest Service interpreters who assist in the iceworm hunt. Just 100 miles south of Portage Valley on the Kenai Peninsula is Alaska's most accessible fishing and recreation area. As many as 50,000 sport fishermen try their luck on the Kenai River every year in a quest to catch one of the largest species of salmon in the world, the Kenai King. These 40-pound kings are small compared to the record 93-pound king salmon caught here in 1985. Regardless of the size, catching a Kenai king is an experience of a lifetime. Elsewhere in Alaska, fishing is done not for recreation, but for a winter supply of food. At these traditional fish camps, as they are called, native Alaskans catch and process enough fish for their own consumption and some for sale. The fish are prepared for drying and smoking with an ulu, a sharp blade of steel with a wooden handle in the middle. These strips of salmon will be brined and smoked in the camp smokehouse, where a barrel of slow-burning willows produce a delicately cured meat which will provide important nutrition through the long winter ahead. The long days of summer give way to a short fall and then winter. The land settles under a blanket of snow. The pace of life slows, but not for long. Winter is the time that Alaskans relive legends of the past. In Anchorage, during the depth of winter in February, as tradition dictates, it's time for the Anchorage Fur Rendezvous. Fur Rondi, as it's called, is Anchorage's 10-day winter carnival, providing an invigorating break from winter's doldrums. Fur Rondi brings people from outlying areas into Anchorage to have a good time in the big city. This is the time of year the trappers have always brought their goods to town for auction, and the tradition continues. Anchorage also hosts the start of the world-famous Iditarod sled dog race, called the Last Great Race.
4, 3, 2, 1, go. And Norman Vaughn, at 78 years old, is off and running the Iditarod.
This grueling race crosses more than 1,000 miles of wilderness terrain. Before this musher reaches the finish line in Nome, she'll spend 2 weeks on the trail with her dog team, crossing several mountain ranges and enduring temperatures of 50 degrees below zero. The Iditarod is a test of human endurance unparalleled anywhere. "500 air miles to the west of Anchorage, the isolated islands of the Bering Sea exist as they have for centuries, largely unshaped by man. These frigid waters and emerald shores are home to an astounding variety of unusual wildlife. The biggest and most comical creatures are the walrus of Round Island. During summer, these hulking bulls, some weighing more than 3,000 pounds, leave the cows and young and congregate on the beaches of this tiny island. Here, they spend a portion of their days basking in the sun, shoulder to shoulder in what appear to be bull sessions. Even more remote are the twin Pribilof Islands of St. George and St. Paul. These treeless volcanic islands were the setting of the earliest recorded meeting between white men and Eskimos about 200 years ago. The Pribilofs are home to many species of birds, including murres and the sometimes camera-shy horned puffin, one of the most sought-after sights on the cliffs of the island. But the Pribilofs are best known for their concentration of fur seals. 80% of the world's fur seal population migrates here each year to mate and give birth. With a coastline extending more than 39,000 miles on 3 sides of the state, the sea has always been important to Alaskans. In the high Arctic of Alaska, the bounty of the sea and cultural customs become one. In the Arctic spring, though the land still appears to be in the icy grip of winter, daylight lasts 24 hours. This is the time of whaling. Inupiat Eskimos travel over the Arctic ice pack, camping beside narrow leads of ice where bowhead whales surface for air. There they will wait, perhaps for weeks, with watchful eyes for the first sign of a bowhead. A sighting swings the captain and his crew into action, and the chase is on. The successful capture of a whale depends upon a combination of skill and luck. A successful hunt brings out the entire village to help prepare what for many will be a main source of their food supply for months to come. When the catch is divided, in time-honored tradition, the captain and his crew host a festival of sharing. The exchange of food is important to community spirit, and in song and dance they retell the traditional stories of hunting life that are at the foundation of Inupiat Eskimo culture. Once a barren landscape, the Arctic has undergone great change since the discovery of oil. Where only tundra and ice existed 20 years ago, today the vast apparatus of oil development stands, and a 750-mile-long oil pipeline crosses the length of the state. The pipeline supplies nearly 20% of America's oil and is man's greatest construction achievement. Through all the changes, Alaska remains a land full of the promise of new discoveries. But perhaps the most important discovery of all is the one you'll make when you see Alaska.